I'm here with Hanbin and Dia from the Dallas Fuel in the week before the playoffs. And I suppose the first thing that we should ask at this time is how satisfied have you been with the season?
이번 시즌은 솔직히 저는
So this season,
우승할 거라
I was so
생각했는데
confident that we will win all the tournaments, but we ended up only winning once, and that's a little bit of a shame. I feel like, I did definitely told myself that we should at least be able to get 2 wins, but that's the part that I'm slightly regretful of. But still, it wasn't too bad. Though I wouldn't say that I'm completely satisfied.
Right. Now, at the end of the season, like your coaches said that you guys took a little bit out of the lengthy practice that you guys got through. How exhausted were you at the end of the season, and are you now back to your old practice regimen in terms of volume and what kind of things you do?
연습량은 확실히 그때
네네.
줄였었을 때는
So when we did
확실히 저희 입장에서 좀
took
편했었고 지금은
that
다시
when we did take the practice time out,
근데 저는
um,
뭐 힘들다고
I
생각은 안 해요.
personally thought that was pretty
제가
convenient.
힘들어서인지는
But
모르겠는데
yes, we're back to our normal
힘들다고는 생각
pace
안
with
하고
the exact same number of
그
scrims
전에도 저는
that we used to do.
힘들진 않았어요.
And
사실은
to be honest with you, I've never
그때
actually thought that I was exhausted.
힘들었다고 하는데 저는 별로 안
Perhaps
힘들었던 것
because
같고
we were focusing on physical health back then, but I never thought that I was tired or necessarily, struggling or anything like that. Although, yeah, I do remember our other players, my other teammates did say that they were tired.
Right. Now, of course, one big aspect of this is, and you got sort of almost got a taste of would have been like if the Overwatch League had gone on its world tour. But of course, a big part of it is the travel to Hawaii, which is of course very exhausting. How have you perceived like the environment there? Did you think that the PPAs or the practice setups or the play setups were adequate? And generally, how big of an advantage did you think that it was for the Eastern teams to not have to travel and play on their home setups?
하와이에서
So, in
친구들 뭐
terms of the BPA and the environment that we were provided in Hawaii, I feel like
전체적으로
it was
괜찮았는데 저는
decent overall.
하와이 가는 시간이
But
너무
the
오래
biggest thing is
걸려가지고
that
거기 연습
it takes
시간이
a long
없어서
time to travel to Hawaii,
차도
and
솔직히
there's also
좋은 편은
uh,
아니라서 하와이 그
it's not like
타이베이에서
there
거의
is
8시간 9시간
no
정도
time
있는데
difference. There is a little bit of it, and especially because the
비행기를
flight takes
자더라도
about
편의점이
eight to nine
아니라서
hours, and
하루 이틀 정도는
you
날리는
normally
거여가지고
wouldn't expect anyone to sleep comfortably on a flight.
하와이에서 준 그 연습
In the end,
환경은 저는
we
만족하는데
ended
그
taking about 1 to 2
가는데
days of
시간
recovery days.
약간
So I do
때문에
believe that it's not fair,
감당하지 못한 것 같아요.
uh,
저는 그
because
동부
especially so
팀들은
because
연습 환경에서 그냥 하던
Eastern
데서
APAC
연습하던
teams
데서 그냥 편하게
will
하고 대회도
be able to
거기서
practice in their
하고
usual
혹시
practice
시차만 조금
areas,
맞추면
and it's
되는데
quite comfortable. All they have to do
그렇게
is
시켜놓은
just
데도
adjust to
있어가지고
the time difference.
불리한 것
Um,
같고 솔직히
but that's something that we
진짜
already
만약에
have to
동부
do in the
환경이면
Western region.
무조건
So I definitely
전체적으로
think
동부
that
환경에서 하는 게
it's a
좋고
huge disadvantage.
전체
If
과정이
I had a
중요하다고
choice
생각해요,
between
솔직히.
staying at my usual practice facility and traveling to Hawaii, I will definitely go with what the Eastern APAC region got.
Right. Now, theoretically, if everything went to plan, you guys would have played pretty much in front of a home crowd in terms of these playoffs matches. Are you upset or sad that you don't get to have that experience?
일단 또 저는 댈러스
So
홈스탠딩이라
yes,
하면
so in
되게
regards
기쁘기도
to being
하고
able to play in
솔직히
front of our home
하면은
crowd,
더 텐션도 올라가고
yeah, I was
그렇게 할 수
honestly looking
있었는데
forward to
이제
playing in our home
하와이에서
stand
유독 하다
because
그러니까
we're playing in
살짝
front of
거기서
our
화가
fans,
나기도 하고
and
여러
it
가지 이제 기분은 안
I know
좋은데
that I was going to be very,
그래도
very happy,
응원하기도
and
좋고
the entire
솔직히
team
저는 하와이는
was
좋은데
so hyped
이
about it.
그런
But
연습 환경이나
when
그런 건 좋은데
the
그냥
news about the Hawaii came
가는데
out,
시간이 너무 오래
I
걸리고
was a
그런
little
것
upset,
때문에
to be
힘든
honest.
거고
So
여태까지
what
본
first came to my
거는
mind was,
그
oh, so APAC
대부분은 이제
teams don't have to
그
travel, but
저희
we have
연습실에서
to go to Hawaii
경기했는데
again.
이번에는
And it's not like I
이번에는
have
모르겠는데
anything against Hawaii.
이번에도
I love Hawaii. It's just that it takes too long
동부는 연습실에서
to
하는지 잘
even get
모르겠는데
there, and
대회를
it's
저는 그래도
exhausting from
다른
the
곳에서 하는
travel.
게 맞지
So
않나
that's the
그래도
part that I don't
불편하게
like.
그래도
And given that
살짝
the
화가
APAC
났다
region
저는.
has been able to play out their games in the facility that they're already comfortable in, it just didn't really make sense to me. Although, um, although from our understanding, they are going to be required to travel this time to a different facility. It's just still going to be the same country.
Now let's talk a little bit about in-game stuff as well. We talked to Hawk this week, and one part of being a pro player is, of course, like reinventing yourself and working on your own game, but it also sometimes requires input from other players. So were there any other off-tanks you were looking at this season in terms of improving your own play in some area?
네, 저는 그래도
If I run
되는
into
부분이 있으면은
a
영상을
wall, let's say,
챙겨보는
if
편이라서
there's anything that I just
그다음에
can't
이제
figure out on my own,
이제 스트리머
although I
사람들의 이제
watch my
서포트를
own
보게
VODs the most,
되니까 같이
I definitely do
저는 이게
observe
이거랬는데
other
그러면 이걸
flex tanks as
하는구나라고
well.
그냥 보고
Uh,
있는데
maybe perhaps through
1인칭으로
the
해서는
scrims
딱히 보진 않았어요.
and learn
3인칭으로
that,
해서 그냥
this is how the other
할
player
때 뭘 하는구나
will solve
아니면은
his
이럴
issue.
때 뭘 해가지고
So normally I don't really
게임
watch
편하게
from the
하는구나
first point of
약간
view.
이런 거 보면서
First
상대
person point of
팀
view,
분위기
I
좀
usually just do the bird's eye
잘하는
view
사람이 있어요.
and
근데
just
저는
take
일단
note on
음,
what the enemy
지금
diva does at this
딱 집어서 저는
given
보진 않는데
circumstance
만약에
and
보게
how
되면은
he
태우빈
solves his issue.
선수나 아니면은
And
뭐
if there's any good player or
그래도
anything good that
offtank
I
이런 거
notice,
tip할
then I
때 뭐
definitely try to watch
우리는
that.
먹을
So
때 어떻게
uh,
먹는다 뭐 퓨리
specific
선수 잘 먹으니까
examples
어떻게 먹는다 그런 거 따로따로
and
해서
the
비판적인 거는
some of
보여주고
the off-tank
있거든요.
players that I pay
그래가지고
attention to might be Choi Ho-bin. Um, so I have definitely paid attention to how he eats grab, and also trick. A lot of the players that I pay attention to are very mechanically talented.
Now, diva is, of course, the keyword for your season. I think the vast majority of your playtime has been on the hero. Do you like to play any other off-tank more, or are you content with diva?
I actually feel the most confident when I play Sigma, although this season I definitely have played a lot more Diva. I feel like I'm definitely better and a lot more comfortable and confident with Sigma.
Of course, looking into the off season and or post season, and especially your first opponent with the Washington Justice, they are a highly skilled team who have showed a unique style with the Lucio Moira. Is that something that you guys are concerned about, or do you think that's generally not an optimal composition that mostly works against weaker teams?
솔직히 저는 루시우 모이라 조합은 약간 좀 약한 팀한테만 먹힌다고
Yeah,
생각하고
so Lucio Moira
킬각이
comp
안
I
좋은
believe
자
would only work
강팀한테는
against
솔직히
weaker
전 잘 안
teams. I
먹힌다
don't think
생각해서
that it will do any better
루시우 모이라가
against
뭐
stronger teams.
그렇게 딱히 좋은
I personally don't consider it
조합은
as a
아닌 것
good
같아요.
comp.
Of course, it's hard to find practice against that particular comp. I imagine like there's only 4 more Overwatch League teams left in NA. Not sure if the contenders teams are really of help in helping you prepare. So how do you practice against a composition like this now?
연습할 때 그냥 약간
So we definitely
워싱턴이랑
want to focus
비슷한
on
성향을 가진 뭐
booking scrims
팀들이랑
against
연습을
teams that
하거나 아니면
have similar
전에 뭐
qualities as Washington.
워싱턴하고
Uh,
스크림했던 뭐
and we
영상들
definitely
토대로
do
솔직히
what would
워싱턴이
help us
저는
the most
다양한
is
조합을
just paying
쓴다고 생각은
attention
안
to the
해서
VODs from
그냥
the
할 게
scrims that
약간 눈에
were
보여서 그냥 그거에
we had
대한 생각만
against
하면 되는
Washington in the
정도?
past. And I personally don't think that Washington is a team that uses a variety of comps. I feel like we already kind of can see what they're going to pull out, and all we have to be concerned about is that.
Are you going to use a variety of comps during the playoffs?
네, 저희는 뭐
We
한 가지만
definitely
쓰지는
don't
않기 때문에
have
이제
just one
여러
card
가지를
in our hand. I
알고
believe we will definitely bring out several different comps.
Now, you're considered, of course, one of the biggest title contenders, winner of the regular season in North America. You won a stage title. You got to another tournament. You made it to Hawaii 3 times. Still, there's a team whose achievements this season were arguably higher, with Shanghai winning 2 and getting to as many and having pretty much every other accolade covered there as well. Is Shanghai your biggest opponent? Or do you think, especially teams like the Gladiators and the Hunters, have an equal chance to win the Overwatch League?
일단 저는
Yeah, majority of this season, I did consider Shanghai to be the most difficult opponent to face. But towards the very end of the season, I noticed that a lot of teams have been stepping up and they are very, very good. So yes, I used to think that Shanghai would be our biggest opponent, but now I consider Shock as our biggest currently.
Oh, do you think that they have been pretty quiet and mostly only cared for the three-peat, or do you think they were just unlucky over the season?
안스가 이제 다시
So I
돌아오는
feel
건
like
나쁘진
they
않다.
definitely
솔직히
found
처음에는
their place
잘
once
못했는데
Ans joined the team again.
사실
In the beginning, they looked very shaky.
다시
I think
결승전
everyone can
보이니까 다
agree.
잘해져가지고
And once Ans joined, I feel
핑크가
like they're really
운이
back
나빴다고
to
해야
how
되나?
they
안스
used to be. They're really, really good.
핑크가?
So I don't know whether to call that unlucky because they didn't have Ans in the beginning.
Now, leaving us on a bit of a bombshell with the shock pick, we thank you for the interview and best of luck in the playoffs.
Thank you.
Thank you.